Hello everyone, good morning. This is Mr. Happy here and welcome to Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn 101 Thaumaturge Class Abilities and Passives Overview. That's a long name. Now for those of you who don't know, Final Fantasy XIV Beta Phase 3 started about an hour ago, a little bit more. And I was going to play through a class and eventually make a video, but I figured it would be a lot easier if I took what's available on the actions and traits initially and gave people an idea of what they're in for with Thaumaturge. Obviously, this isn't all the class abilities, and this is Beta Phase 3, so these things are subject to change. Also, I will not be using audio or video. This will be purely a screenshot-based overview due to the NDA in place, allowing screenshots, but no audio or video. So you know what, let's just jump right in. I'll show you what I got. Let me jump to another scene. My face is still going to be in the bottom left because I know you're loving this awesome 6 a.m. hairstyle that I got going here, especially the way that the camera froze and I look stupid there for a second. Alright, so I'm not going to start with that one. Let's start with the actual actions. Now, I apologize for lethargy being hovered over. I really wanted to get this out instantly, and this is the one I had, so I figured I'll go with it. The last ability is not a big deal anyway. So, excuse me, I have my notes down here. So, Blizzard and Fire both have a unique mechanic I'm gonna delve into first before we get started very much. When you use Blizzard, you get a stack of what's called Umbral Ice. This increases the damage of your next Blizzard spell, but well, all your Blizzard spells essentially. And if you cast them repeatedly, because you get the buff every time you cast it, and but it'll cost more mana. So it does. So the next Blizzard spell will cost more mana, but do more damage. However, if you cast a fire spell next, it'll not only consume Umbral Ice, it will your fire will do less damage but cost less mana, and it will apply Astral Fire, which essentially does the opposite of Umbral Ice. So when you cast Blizzard repeatedly, the spell costs more mana and does more damage, and when you cast Fire repeatedly, it costs more and does more. And if you try to interchange them, they'll cost less and do less damage. It's a very interesting mechanic. I don't yet know how it'll play into the actual gameplay of Thaumaturge and Black Mage, but let's get into that later. Let's theorycraft after we go over the rest of the abilities. Next is Transpose. Transpose basically says switches Umbral Ice with Astral Fire when you cast it. So it's an easy way of switching between the two if you really don't want to have to cast Fire for less damage and you just want to go into the harder hitting Fire and you're done casting Blizzard. You could just transpose it and it'll go over to that, and your next Fire cast will be a lot stronger. So it might even be easier to cast Blizzard twice or cast Blizzard once, transpose, and then fire to get the slowdown. I forgot to mention what Blizzard actually does, by the way. Blizzard does potency at 150 damage, at 150 potency. Potency is just a way of measuring how much damage it does. It's not a 100% accurate number, but it's just the higher the number, the more damage it does, you know? It also slows enemy movement speed by 40% for 20 seconds, but this has diminishing returns, meaning if you cast it repeatedly, the slow will become weaker and weaker. It'll last less and less time, down to 10, 5, 2 seconds, and then 0, I believe. Fire doesn't have any sort of crazy effect like that. It's just Astral Fire and nothing more, plus the potency of 150. They have the same potency. Transpose, I already told you what it does. Let's skip over that. Next, you have Thunder over there, 4th ability, and it's just a damage over time ability. It's nothing really special about it in its initial form, but it gets a lot crazier later on once we start getting into passives. Don't worry, the passives are crazy for Thaumaturge, and they were honestly the more exciting part. Next, you have Surecast. In this game, your spellcast can be interrupted if you're very unfortunate. Well, that was strange, but I don't know why it just did that. But anyway, we'll get past it. I'm not going to start over just for that. Surecast will it'll prevent your next spell from being interrupted. Short and simple. You don't get interrupted too often since they've made a few changes, but now with that spell, you will surely not be interrupted. Sleep. Single target ability, CCs them for 30 seconds, automatically cancels your auto attack animation, so you won't break the CC by accident once you sleep them, which is really good. Blizzard 2 is it's like Blizzard, but it's AoE. It does a little bit less damage than Blizzard 1 does, and it also binds instead of reduces enemy movement speed. So it holds all the enemies it hits in place for about 4 seconds, I believe it is, and this also has diminishing returns. It also does the whole Umbral Ice thing with Astral Fire, and Fire 2 essentially just does AoE fire damage and applies Astral Fire. Again, nothing really crazy. Thunder 2 just does more damage over time. Swift Cast makes your next spell cast instantly, meaning there's no cast time, and it just goes, so you don't have to worry if you need to cast something in a hurry. Swift Cast is a great ability. Fire 3 does 200 potency, so it does more than Fire 1. And not only that, but it does the whole Astral Fire, Umbral Ice thing. Blizzard 3 doesn't have any special effects. It just does 200 ice potency damage, and it does the Umbral Ice, and it applies Umbral Ice. Then you have Lethargy, which I have highlighted here, so you can read it, and you probably read it right at the beginning. Inflicts a target with slow and heavy by 20%, lasts 12 seconds, has a 30-second recast timer, so the diminishing returns probably doesn't matter too much on this one unless you have multiple Thaumaturges casting it, but that's definitely a good PvP and PvE ability, especially if you have bosses and ads that you want to be able to kite. Thunder 3, more lightning damage over time. Not much more to say here. And the final ability, which I have hovered over by accident and you can't see the name, is called Ethereal Manipulation. And what it does is it allows you to rush to the target's side, a target ally's side. And you can't do it if you're bound, though. So if you're bound and you try to use it, it won't cast. But it essentially lets you move instantly to a new place, which is going to be great for both PvE and PvP. Now that I've covered all their basic abilities, keep in mind these are not all of the Thaumaturge abilities. These are just the base ones to give you an idea of how the class is going to play. But we are going to get into some theory crafting now that we are going into the traits. Let me just change the screenshot because the stupid bar at the bottom was covering it. There we go. And these are Thaumaturge traits. These are passive abilities that the Thaumaturge gets. And some of them are pretty self-explanatory, but some of them are crazy awesome for the class, especially when you're going to jump into Black Mage. So first, all the enhanced intelligences do what you think they do. They give you additional intelligence, so there's not really much to say about that. Now, Enhanced Surecast is the first one that kind of directly targets an ability. Enhanced Surecast means that every time you cast Surecast, there's a 15% chance it will have no recast time, so you can recast it immediately if you so desire. Now, increased ethereal damage is really a core of how difficult Thaumaturges and Black Mages are going to be to play. Increases all your base action damage by 10%, which is good as it is, but it also allows you to obtain a second stack of Umbral Ice and Astral Fire. This means that they will do even more damage and cost even more mana. So now it's really going to become a matter of how do you deal with the increased mana cost and the increased damage. What is going to be the proper rotation? I don't know yet. Someone will figure it out soon. Now, Enhanced Scathe is interesting because Scathe is not an ability we've seen yet. I have no way of knowing if it's a class-related ability, which I assume it is. It's a level 24 trait, so I'm assuming that from a class quest up until probably level 15, you probably learn Scathe. If not, it's definitely a Black Mage ability, one or the other. And this just gives that ability a chance to do double damage. So whatever that ability does, it'll do double. I'm assuming it's a reason for Thaumaturges to actually use their TP because they don't have them other than to sprint. Next you have Thundercloud. Now this was a passive that blew my mind because I'm going to have to read the whole thing out because it's a lot. There's a 5% chance from each dot tick on lightning, meaning probably about 6 chances you have per cast, and you have a 5% chance on each tick, that the next Thunder 2, or Thunder 3 spellcast will do its full damage over time on it to the initial damage. So it'll instantly do the whole damage over time ability. It'll do all the damage up front. It'll have no cast time, and it'll cost no mana. That's a big effect. And even though it's only 5%, that's something that's going to make you in the middle of your rotations be like, oh shit, I have a Thunder 3 proc. I got to use it. Alright, so then you have Enhanced Intelligence 3, not a big deal. Deep Sleep makes your sleep AoE. It's a very small AoE, but it is an AoE. So monsters that are grouped up, it'll be very effective on. Increased Ethereal Damage 2, increases your base damage by 30% and gives you a third stack. Again, it is going to make for very interesting mechanics. I can't wait. Now, Firestarter's a lot like Thundercloud, but for Fire 3. Basically, it gives you a 30% chance that your next fire will cost no mana and have no casting time, which means that essentially spamming fire is looking like the way to go with these abilities. And finally, you have Enhanced Mana Ward. Now, Mana Ward, based on the description, we can assume is an ability that takes your mana and uses it as a shield from damage. Now, just from the name alone, we can assume that. So let's read what the passive does. Increases the damage nullified by Mana Ward to 30% of your maximum HP. So this might not even be an ability that takes mana. It might just be an ability that, absorbs damage. It seems that it's based on maximum HP, based on the passive. So if it's 30% with the passive, it's probably something like 10 to 25% without. I'm going to assume it's 15% just because, you know, a lot of these things seem to double and it just seems to be a very normal thing. And that's actually it for everything that Thaumaturge has. I cannot go over Black Mage yet. Unfortunately, we do not have the jobs available. Our 1.0 characters don't seem to be present anywhere right now. But I will let you know as soon as it comes up. This is the first of 7 101s that I'm going to be unleashing today. And yes, I say unleashing. So if you're not in the beta, please stick around. I'm ready to give you so much more information so you can figure out what you want to play. There's also going to be some other information once the instruction manual comes out that I will be covering. Don't worry, there's going to be a lot of content today. I am not so much focused on playing the beta as I am providing you guys the information that you need to decide how you want to play this game and keeping you updated. So on that note, if you like this video, please like, favorite, subscribe, share. If you have cool friends or friends you want to share this with, if they're like, hey man, I want to play Thaumaturge, but I don't know what it does, send them this video. They'll get a decent idea. Also, go check out my Facebook at www.facebook.com/MrHappy1227 where you can ask your personal questions in a private message or on the wall, or you can even get updated on me, what I'm doing for the community. And I am just so looking forward to sharing the other 6 classes with you. As a refresher, this is not in breach of the non-disclosure agreement. I actually had a post on the beta forums that asked what is the non-disclosure agreement, how does it affect Phase 3 as opposed to the previous phases. I was told that screenshots from beta Phase 3 are allowed to be shown, as you can see, but no audio or video. Just as a recap, no audio or video is allowed, so this is how I'm handling it. This is how the journal is going to be done with screenshots, with my face, because I know you love my face. And hopefully you can enjoy them, because I have a lot more coming to you. See you guys in the next 101.